I'm going to start this by playing a clip for all of you that needs to be seen of Joe Biden, because the idea that anyone would consider voting for him is shocking at this point. Doesn't matter what Trump is, does, or otherwise. Joe Biden's brain does not work. He is clearly in deep decline. He is facing severe dementia and senility. I'm not a doctor, but I take a look at this guy and I cannot believe polls show that people would consider voting for him. Here's the video. Let me make sure we have the sound properly, and I will see if we can get it big enough. And I'm going to play. Here you go. Here's the clip.
And I made it clear to Israelis, don't move on Haifa. It's just not, I mean, anyway, I just, look what we did recently when Israel was attacked. And I made it clear to Israelis, don't move on Haifa. It's just not, I mean, anyway.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't get this. This country is falling apart. That's just it. Look at Joe Biden. I'm playing this video. Look at his eyes. Look at his hands. He's struggling to keep his eyes open. He can't talk. And he says, I warned Israel not to attack Israel. This is a guy who misspoke, and I believe it was a UN meeting, referring to Syria as Libya. What happens when this guy is in the Situation Room and he says, we gotta send troops into Haifa? And sir, that's in Israel. You heard what I said, and they do. It's laughably absurd. Here you go.
And I made it clear to Israelis, don't move on Haifa. It's just not.
Look at his eyes. He can't keep his eyes open. He can't talk. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The New York Post says, Biden confuses Israeli city with Rafah in Gaza in shocking gaffe. Don't move on Haifa. And I don't even care all that much about misspeaking. That's not even it. Trump misspoke. Obama, Clinton, Bush, every president has a gaffe, and they make fun of him for it. It is the 50th, 60th, 70th, 80th video where this man has no idea what's going on, can't see straight, can't keep his eyes open, and is standing there confused saying, what's going on? What? Wandering around on stage. It's just insane. I don't get it. This country is doomed. Perhaps we are facing a test, my friends. Perhaps aliens have taken over the earth and they said, let's see if humans are smart enough to actually rule themselves. And they give us Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And it's an IQ test. It is. If humans can pick the right guy, maybe they will be allowed to enter the Galactic Federation. I'm kidding, by the way. I don't think there's actually a Galactic Federation. I mean, it's possible we wouldn't know about it. I don't know. My point is, for all the things you might not like Trump over, if you really do look at the news and take a look at what's going on, the worst thing about Trump, he's kind of a nasty guy, I guess. He's gross. Is that it? You cannot elect a president who can't keep his eyes open, who can't see, who doesn't know the names of cities, and this happens over and over again. But maybe that's it. Maybe the real issue is the reason people are voting for Biden is because they're voting to burn the country to the ground. Several years ago, 4 years ago, I said Antifa has every reason to vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, I mean it. Why? Because the deep state, the uniparty establishment won't let up the reins of control. And if Antifa really wants a shot at changing this country or upending it, wouldn't Trump be the guy? Isn't Trump the one? They voted for Joe Biden. Perhaps I was naive. Perhaps they saw what I did not. That Joe Biden's brain doesn't work at all. And that Donald Trump, at the very least, his brain does. You may question it. Fine. You may call him a lewd, lascivious liar. Yeah, probably. Fine. But his brain works. And you have two principal parties right now. But it's an IQ test, I guess. The people who would vote for Joe Biden in this state right now, and they're saying they will, they don't know anything about Trump. They don't know what's actually going on in the news. They don't get it. That's what worries me. The New York Post says President Biden on Tuesday confused the Israeli port city of Haifa with the last refuge for civilians in Gaza, Rafah, in a stunning blunder. The 81-year-old president made the gaffe when asked in a one-on-one interview with Nexstar's media Rashad Hudson about his plan to win back pro-Palestinian voters. I've been meeting with them, number one. Number two, I made it clear that we have to vastly increase the amount of food, water, healthcare going into Gaza. I made it clear to Israelis, don't move on Haifa. Yeah, he meant Rafah. Unless he didn't. And he really wanted to bomb Libya. And he really wants to purge Israelis from Haifa. Because he wants to let Palestinians in, maybe? I don't know. I don't get it, man. Let me show you some data. We have this from Interactive Polls. 538 average net approval ratings at this time in office and on election day. Eisenhower was up 56 points in approval. It's amazing. Nixon was up 20. Reagan was up 17. Clinton was up 14. Obama was up 1. George W. Bush was up 2.1. Carter was down 7. Truman was down 7. Trump was down 8.5. H.W. Bush was down 12.2. Biden takes the record. Biden's net approval rating is minus 17 at this time in his presidency. On election day, Eisenhower was 48, Nixon 32, Reagan 24. These are positive. Overwhelmingly, the country loved Eisenhower. Truman was down about 6, Trump 8.1, Carter 16.9, and H.W. Bush 22.9. If this trend holds, it is impossible for Joe Biden to win. But let me just stress to all of you, for the first time in forever, I guess, the person who won all the bellwether counties lost the presidency. Take it for what it is. I don't think this game is going to be as simple as people hope it is or think it will be. Now we can take a look at this from Josh Krishar. This is interesting. New Harvard IOP poll of registered Gen Z voters 18 to 29. Biden 50, Trump 37. Biden lead among young white voters is 3 points. Among young non-white voters is 43 points. Biden's lead among young women is 33 points. His lead among young men is 6 points. Interesting. Full ballot test. Biden's at 34, Trump 27, Kennedy 10, Stein 5, West 4, and don't know 22. Interesting. It's a much closer race when you include these other groups. The important thing to recognize, someone posted it, 18 to 29-year-olds are also the least likely among voters to actually vote. Yep, they overwhelmingly do not. Now, Trump getting 37% of Gen Z, I'll tell you what I think. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump wins Gen Z. I won't be surprised. I'm not saying I think he will. If it ended up happening, I'd be like, oh, would you look at that? I do believe Trump will perform well with Gen Z relative to past presidents. I think a lot of people on the right say things like, look at these polling trends. Black voters, they're going to vote for Trump, and they don't. Right now, Trump is doing really well with the black vote, something like 23%, I think some polls have him at. But don't be surprised if come election day, it just doesn't happen. Same thing with Gen Z. Now, the reason why I wouldn't be surprised, and I think this time around, there is a chance, again, we don't know, but I think the people who are Gen Z and say they're voting for Biden have no idea what they're talking about. And they're just like, yeah, Biden, I guess, but they won't vote. People who say they're voting for Trump, they're voting for Trump. I imagine that these Gen Z voters who say Trump are more likely to vote than the Biden voters who say they're voting for Biden. Than the Gen Z people say they're voting for Biden. What I mean is, anybody who says they're voting for Biden, especially after that Israel gaffe, I mean, you look at the man's dead eyes. His dead eyes. I'm sorry. This is a guy who probably can't control his bowel movements anymore. Probably is only awake for an hour a day. And you know what? I feel bad for the old man. I'm not trying to rag on him. It happens to everybody. But the idea that they would prop him up and claim that he's going to be the president is insane. The Democrats could have had RFK Jr. They could have had anyone else. They could have had Gavin Newsom. I will stand corrected because I thought Biden would be out based on seeing how decrepit and incapable of thought the man was. I don't know. I don't know what the big news is this morning. I just saw that video and I'm flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. Are you kidding me? The guy's eyes are barely open. He's Israel, don't go to Israel. It's amazing. People would vote for him. Now, I'll stress this again. Not just for Gen Z, but for everybody. I bet the people who say they're voting for Trump mean it a lot more than the people who say they're voting for Biden. When Donald Trump was president, the enthusiasm against him was massive. So when it came to election day, people did vote. Now, granted, I think ballot harvesting is what brought it in for Democrats. I think on the merits, Trump would have won. So it's a game about collecting pieces of paper with names on it, not winning the argument. Today, Joe Biden is the president. I can't imagine most people who are saying they're voting for Biden are going to be motivated to get up and go vote for Biden. At this point, things are so bad. They're so bad. I just feel like most people are going to wash their hands and walk away. Trump's base will march in and they will vote in force. But we'll see. We'll see. I was dead wrong about DJT stock. The Krasensteins were saying, does anyone really think Truth Social's worth these billions of dollars? Well, of course not. But people were still buying the stock. Now, I agreed with them. No investor is going to buy chunks of DJT. The people buying it must be supporters of Trump who want to own a piece of this company. I bought, I think I have 13 shares or so. I don't know. It's fractions. So I think it's about 13. Mostly because that was what I got through like some dividends or something. And then I was just like, it's like a souvenir. I don't expect to make a lot of money off it. Then it tanked. I was surprised. This means that people actually invested legitimately in DJT. Now, also to be fair, as the left hoots and hollers and bangs around screaming that DJT is collapsing, the market itself took a big hit. That doesn't account for all of the losses of DJT, but it did go down. That surprised me because I thought a lot of people would just buy them because they want to have them. That's it. It was a way to actually fund Trump. Another thing I thought too is I really agreed with the Krasensteins on this one, that foreign influence could buy shares in DJT, Trump's Truth Social stock, inflating his net worth and giving him access to cash. And I'm like, that's crazy. That's bad. Foreign governments effectively supporting a politician through publicly traded stock is crazy. All of that was wrong. All of it was wrong. They were actual investors in the United States who were trying to make money off Trump, and then they sold. Wow. And then it went down. Well, marked me surprised. Now in this, you'll notice something interesting. Among women, 33-point lead. Among men, 6 points. Why is that? So we have this image. Dr. Pepper Texan says, how is this possible? Among women voters, the New York Times, Siena College, Joe Biden has 53 to Donald Trump's 37. Yeah. You know, I got to be honest. I think women hate women. I think women hate women. And I don't think like all women hate women. I think generally speaking, women hate other women. Obviously, human beings can be friends, and there are women who are friends with women, of course. What I'm saying is, when it comes to voting, I really do think women don't like other women. I think you just look at the voting patterns, and it seems like there is a voting pattern towards women begging men to take over while publicly saying otherwise. And I'm not saying it's a good thing or I support it. I'm saying they're doing it. Take a look at this. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs vetoes bill that would have codified biological sex, not gender, into law. Why? Why is it that women overwhelmingly vote for males to be in women's bathrooms and to be in women's sports teams, and men overwhelmingly vote against it? Honest question. I don't know. But I do think this is evidence, circumstantial, that contributes to the idea that women don't like women. I am not saying literally everyone everywhere. I'm saying that to a certain degree, women don't like women. Or perhaps a better way to put it is women want men in charge. Women want men in their spaces. Women want males to be around them. Women want males to tell them what to do. It is women voting for policies that leads to a male being listed as Woman of the Year. Men don't do that. It's funny because on Timcast IRL, it's the female guests who want to repeal the 19th Amendment, women's right to vote. And the guys are like, nah, we think it's fine. Like women should vote. And then the women are going, nope, nope. I'm like, okay, maybe women don't like women. Maybe women want men to be in charge. And that's why Katie Hobbs says, no, we're not doing this. Why? Codifying biological sex would create work and privacy protections for females. She doesn't want that. These women, these females want males to be in their space. That's it. I find it fascinating. Look, it was this way throughout human history. The men were in charge, and women are overwhelmingly voting for it. Women don't want women's sports. They overwhelmingly vote for males to dominate their sporting brackets. I think at a certain point, you have to recognize people are voting for what they want. Now, Allie Beth Stuckey has a different view. She wrote a long post about it. Someone said, how is this possible that women are voting for Biden? Allie Beth says, a few reasons, I think. They all kind of go together. Women are both victims and perpetuators of what I call toxic empathy. They feel for the perceived victim and enjoy the applause they get for standing up for them. This applies to all kinds of issues: social justice, police brutality, LGBTQ, economics, abortion, immigration, guns. Happen to be writing a book about this. They have zero incentive to think beyond the headlines that tell them black people are being gunned down by police and women are unable to get miscarriage care. They have learned these are the only acceptable empathetic positions, and their entire social network agrees. The biggest influencers for women are people like Glennon Doyle, Bren Brown, and others in the self-empowerment field. They are liberal and make progressivism look liberating, fashionable, educated, and sophisticated. They convincingly conflate progressivism with being a healthy, stable, loving person. They are terrified of being seen as a Karen, which is an insecure, unsophisticated woman who hasn't yet taken the journey to rid herself of her biases and paranoia. They don't like Trump's persona. It's not that they're just offended by it, they're embarrassed. I actually think they do like Trump. I think there are a lot of women who are not disgusted by Trump. They're scared to admit they like Trump. It is a Mexican standoff that you have the secret Trump voter. I believe there are a lot of women who want Trump to walk in, push people around and take over. But it would make you look unsophisticated. It would make you look gross. And so that's the bigger issue. Some of the rhetoric on the right that's increased in popularity, calling women whores, blaming them for all the world's problems, elevating pimps like Andrew Tate, just confirm the caricatures they see of the right, that they really do hate women and want to trample on their rights. No need to argue with the women I just described in the replies. You and I know all the retorts and I probably agree with you completely. But let's be honest. We have a lot of freaks on the right that make it really hard for even curious women to take a look at our stances. I'm doing my best to be louder than those weirdos. Andrew Tate came up. It's interesting. Young men like Andrew Tate. They like Joe Rogan. They like Jordan Peterson. And these are all fairly different guys personality-wise, but they do have a lot in common about, you got to be tough. You got to be strong. You got to work hard. You have to train. I think the issue is social media, the rule base, and the manipulation. It pushes women, social beings, into a box where they're afraid to speak out. That's it. It's quite simple. Why do we see high rates of suicidality and depression among young girls from social media? Because women and girls are more susceptible to social pressures than men are. The reason why men are shifting towards Trump is because it's empowering. They want to be empowered. Men want to run the show. They want to lead. They want to take charge. So when you look at Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, and to a certain extent Joe Rogan, these are people with a message. And less so Rogan. I know Rogan's not like a guru like, Jordan Peterson, like a self-empowerment guy, but he is still a guy who talks about working out, getting fit, taking care of your health. These are things that tell men, be strong. Guys want to be strong. Guys want to lead. Guys want to provide. Women want to fit in. So on social media, the policies. I mean, I'll give you a really great example. Take a look at when Shoe on Head, I like Shoe on Head, but when she denounced Lauren Southern, it's just like the most, I'm sorry, it was sad. And guys do this kind of stuff too, sure. Chris Rogan, if you're familiar with him, deleted his Punch a Nazi video, which was so ridiculous because it was a satire of Paparazzi by Lady Gaga making fun of the left for wanting to be violent. But you tend to see it a lot with women desperately trying to fit in, and men care less. I'm not saying men don't care, and I'm not saying women only care. I'm saying it is tendencies for obvious reasons. Women are social and subjective, and men are objective. And I mean object oriented, not like neutral. Males tend to be object and goal oriented. Women tend to be human and subject oriented. Tendencies we see time and time again. Any adult who's watched anything about humans or knows any humans knows this is true. But I mean, you can actually look at the data. Women are more susceptible to social pressures. Young girls develop tics, Tourette syndrome from watching TikTok videos. Young women get more depressed when they don't get enough likes or shares. Men are less affected by this. So what happens? A guy sees a Donald Trump and Trump's like, we're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, I want to be strong too. I want to be the boss. And women say, I don't want to be shunned. I want to fit in. And there you go. There's your divide. So when women are asked, they're like, the socially acceptable thing to do is to say Trump. I mean, and look at this, the data on agreeableness. Women tend to be more agreeable. So if the popular narrative on social media is Trump is bad, and if you support Trump, we ban you, then women are going to say, look, I'll put it this way. If young girls get depressed when they don't get enough Instagram likes, what do you think happens when Instagram looks at the woman and says, we will ban your account outright if you support Trump? Not every single woman is susceptible to this. Some are principled and strong. Some are Allie Beth Stuckey. But many women are just like, it would kill me if I was no longer on Instagram and TikTok. That's the social pressure and social manipulation. It will burn this country to the ground. I don't know what else to tell you. I certainly don't agree with people who say repeal the 19th. It seems a bit extreme. But I do believe there must be civic duty tied to the voting privilege. I think, in a conversation with Vivek Ramaswamy, the simple solution that we came up with, once you sign up for the selective service, you get your voter card. That's it. You don't have to be drafted. You don't have to enlist. You don't have to serve. You don't got to do anything except for sign up for the selective service. Women can choose not to, because I'll tell you what's going to happen. I think this solves all of our problems. Low information voters are not going to enlist in order to vote. I shouldn't say enlist. They're not going to sign up for selective service. And this would make it so that if you're a guy, you no longer have to sign up. Nope. When you're 18, it's your choice, but you can't vote unless you do. You have to swear that you would stand up and defend this country in its time of need. Then you get to vote. That's it. You don't got to own property. You don't got to have a job. You don't got to pay taxes. None of that. Think about it. Ballot harvesting would be over. Done. Democrats would go and be like, can we register you to vote? And they'd be like, sign me up for the draft? No way. I don't care. Let whoever wants to be president, be president. But when there's zero barrier, no responsibilities, no requirements, what ends up happening is some dude smoking pot at a rock show is sitting there being like, yeah, and then someone walks up and says, hey, do you want to register? He's like, sure, I guess. And then when the universal mail-in vote ballot comes to his house, he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I guess Joe Biden, whatever, man. And that's how you lose. That's how your country is ripped to shreds. Now, let's be real. I do not see an off-ramp or a path forward. I don't see the possibility of passing legislation. All I see is these trends continue and the country burns down. That doesn't mean we die or America ceases to be. It means what was built will fall. There will be a darkness period, a great turning, a fourth turning, I should say. And then we rebuild. We'll figure it out. Maybe at that point, we need to recognize civic duty must be tied to voting. You must swear that you will take responsibility for your country. Not even asking a lot. Used to be a property owner. Why? To prove that you live there. And they said, well, not everybody owns property, but some people have lived here for generations, you know? Well, they should be allowed to vote. They live here. Now, someone can move from Chicago to Georgia, say, I live here now, I'm voting, then leave. How does that make sense? There should be wait periods, and you should have to sign up for selective service if you want to vote. I mean it. And a lot of libertarians are going to be like, no, that's ridiculous. But I don't care. I'm not saying I agree with the draft. And I'm not saying there would ever be a draft. I'm just saying every guy signs up for selective service. Every guy at 18. Okay. Well, we want equality, so women have to do it as well. But we just make it simple. You can't vote unless you do. It's just that simple. Democrats would never let that happen. If the Republicans sweep the House, the Senate, and the executive branch, one of the most important things they can do is reform voting and say, I mean, this would end the destruction of this country overnight. They would just pass a bill saying, upon turning 18, when you sign up for selective service, you get your voter card, which is required for voting, period. Now, to be fair, the argument is that the states hold their own elections to decide who the president will be, and the federal government can't supersede how the states handle their elections. So you'd have to do it at the state level. But if any red state that's leaning blue wants to prevent manipulation and ballot harvesting so that low information voters vote for crackpot Democrats, enact this. And then your state will be Republican forever until Democrats fall in line, realign with what Americans actually care about, and then bring back competition. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see y'all then.